What if the person you love most is the reason girls keep disappearing? The night it began, Hannah was folding laundry. Nothing unusual. A soft hum played from the old kitchen radio. Wind whispered through the trees outside. The baby monitor crackled faintly on the counter. Her husband, Michael, had just kissed her goodbye. A late shift at the hospital, he said. She trusted him. Completely. Until the knock came. 3 knocks. Measured. Deliberate. Not loud. But wrong. She hesitated, cloth still warm in her hands. Who knocks at 11:47 p.m.? Their house was deep in the woods. No neighbors for miles. No one ever showed up unannounced. She peeked through the curtain. Saw no one. But the door was unlocked. And the baby monitor crackled again. This time louder. Static. Then a voice. A whisper. Mommy. Her blood turned to ice. Because her baby was asleep. And that wasn't her daughter's voice. 2 weeks earlier, Hannah had thrown a surprise party for Michael. Cake. Balloons. Friends. Everyone adored him. The charming ER doctor who saved lives. The perfect father. Loving husband. Devoted son. They called him selfless. But now she wonders, what if the charm was the mask? That night when she met him, 10 years ago, she'd spilled her coffee in the hospital cafeteria. Michael had laughed, handed her a napkin, apologized as if it were his fault. He made her feel safe, seen. And in that moment, she wanted nothing more than to be loved by someone like him. But love, she would learn, can rot from the inside. The whisper came again. Mommy, he's in my room. The monitor fell silent. And that's when the lights flickered. Not all at once. Just the hallway. The one that led to her daughter's nursery. She ran. Barefoot. Heart hammering. Floorboards creaking beneath her like bones snapping. She threw open the nursery door and found it empty. The window was open. Curtain fluttering like something breathing. The crib was cold. And in the corner was a teddy bear. She'd never seen it before. Then she heard it. A slow, dragging sound down the hall. Heavy. Wet. She turned. Breath caught in her throat. And saw footprints. Bloody ones. Leading away from the nursery. Toward the basement door. It stood open. Yawning black. Her hand trembled on the light switch. She clicked it. Nothing. Darkness. The kind that feels like it watches you. She took a step forward. Then another. Each one feeling less like hers. As if the house was swallowing her whole. The smell hit her first. Like rust and rot. Thick. Wrong. A sharp noise behind her. She spun around. But the hallway was empty. Just the nursery. And those red prints. Already drying. She turned back toward the stairs. And something was there. Not a person. Not quite. It whispered her name. Hannah. She didn't scream. She couldn't. Because the voice was Michael's. But he was at work. Wasn't he? What would you do if the man you married wasn't who you thought he was? What if every moment, every kiss, was part of a lie? A long, slow deception, leading here, to a bloody basement, and a missing child? How do you unlove someone when their hands might have ended lives? She didn't want to go down there. No mother would. No human should. But the footprints, they were her daughter's size, and they disappeared into that basement. That mouth in the floor, waiting to consume her. She gripped the railing, felt damp, cold, sticky. Was it blood? Her breath hitched. She whispered her daughter's name, Lily, but only silence replied. Not even an echo, like the walls were listening, holding in a secret. Step by step, the wooden stairs groaned under her weight. Every creak felt like a countdown. 10 steps, then 9, then 8, and she remembered something. 2 years ago, she'd asked Michael why he always kept the basement locked. He'd smiled, said there were rats, said it wasn't safe, that she shouldn't worry. So she didn't. Until now. Her foot landed on the cold concrete floor. She expected darkness. But instead, there was a faint glow. A single bulb. Buzzing. Swinging slightly like someone had just passed underneath. And there, on the far wall, were pictures, taped, pinned, some with red marker circles. All women, different ages, different smiles, but the same eyes, terrified. And in the middle of them, Lily. No, this couldn't be right. Her daughter's photo had been taken just yesterday. She remembered dressing her in that yellow shirt. The one with the cartoon owl. The sleeves were too long. She remembered saying, "You'll grow into it." Now the shirt was crumpled, pinned to the wall beneath the photo. Stained. She dropped to her knees, sick rising in her throat. This wasn't just a basement. This was something else. A museum of pain. That's when she saw it. A journal, leather-bound, placed neatly on a wooden workbench, like an offering. She opened it with shaking hands. And the first line read, "I watched her sleep before I took her. The mothers never notice in time." No, this couldn't be Michael. He saved people. He held her through miscarriages. He sang to Lily at night. He couldn't be the one who... She flipped the page. There was a list. Names, dates, locations, a method, and beside each one, a tiny sketch. Some were faces. Some were just things. A knife, a red ribbon, a girl's shoe. She stopped at the fourth entry. Caitlin, age 7, blue eyes, screamed when I touched her hand. Hannah screamed, out loud. The sound barely echoed. She staggered back. And that's when she heard it. A faint shuffle. Upstairs. Someone had come in. The front door, creaking open. She slammed the journal shut, stuffed it under her shirt, and sprinted up the stairs. Heart pounding, throat burning. When she reached the top, the house was dark again. Silent. But the nursery door was closed now. It had been open. And she knew. Someone was inside. She crept toward it. Each footstep felt like it might betray her. Might creak too loud. The door handle was warm, like someone had just gripped it. She twisted it slowly and opened the door. The room was empty, crib untouched, curtains still. But something was missing. The teddy bear, gone. She turned and froze. Michael stood in the hallway, blood on his sleeves, smiling. "Honey," he said softly, "why are you down here so late?" Her knees nearly gave out. Her voice cracked. "Where's Lily?" He tilted his head, confused, or pretending to be. "She's sleeping," he said. "She's always sleeping by now." She took a step back. He took a step forward. And she noticed something in his hand. Small. Fabric. Yellow. Lily's shirt. Not the clean one. The one pinned in the basement. Stained. "You're lying," she whispered. Michael smiled again. But something in his eyes had changed. They weren't warm. They weren't Michael's. They were hungry. And in that moment, she realized she had married a man who didn't just keep secrets. He collected them, like trophies. And her daughter was one of them. What if your home wasn't protecting you but hiding him? She didn't scream. Not yet. She couldn't. Because the man in front of her looked exactly like Michael. Same jaw. Same tired eyes. Same voice that once whispered, "You're safe now. I've got you." But that voice now sent knives down her spine. And in his hand, their daughter's shirt, crumpled, blood-stained, still warm. "Where is she?" Her voice cracked as she backed away. Michael, or whatever this was, stepped into the nursery, casually, like a man entering his office. "She's fine," he said softly. "You always worry too much, Hannah. Just like your mother did." She stopped breathing. Her mother. She had died in that car crash. Hadn't she? Michael sat on the edge of the crib, ran a hand across the blanket. "She used to scream at night too, didn't she?" His voice was low now, slow. "She thought someone was in her closet. Remember that? You told me that on our second date." Hannah's hands went cold. I told you that in passing. Once. You were crying," he whispered. "Right before I kissed you." The air in the room changed. It wasn't grief anymore. It was dread. Old. Heavy. Like the walls remembered everything she'd forgotten. She took another step back, and her foot struck something soft. A bear. The same one from the basement. It was back. But now its eyes were sewn shut, with red thread, and she hadn't done that. She turned and bolted. Through the hallway, down the stairs, toward the front door. Her hands shook as she grabbed the lock, but it wouldn't budge. Not jammed. Not stuck. The keyhole was gone. She stumbled into the kitchen. Her phone. Where was her phone? She spotted it on the counter, screen down, next to a cup of cold coffee. She snatched it, but the screen wouldn't turn on. Dead. Even though she'd charged it an hour ago. Then she heard it. Footsteps. Slow. Measured. Coming down the stairs. Michael was humming. The same lullaby he sang to Lily every night. The one that always made Hannah cry. Stars are watching. Hush, my child. Shadows dance but stay so mild. She ducked into the pantry, held her breath, pressed her back against the wall, tried to silence the racing in her chest. Michael's voice grew closer, but it wasn't angry. It wasn't even cold. It was soft, playful. I know you're scared, Hannah, he called gently, but you don't have to be. I've never hurt you, have I? Her throat burned. Her fingers clutched the journal still hidden beneath her shirt. No, he hadn't hurt her, but he'd hurt them. The names in the book, the girls, the missing, and now Lily. Suddenly, everything went silent. No footsteps, no breathing, no humming, just a stillness. And then, knock, knock, knock. 3 soft taps. From inside the pantry wall. Her mouth opened, but no sound came. She turned slowly and saw the outline of a door. Not a full-sized one. Small, like a crawl space. She'd never seen it before. The wallpaper had been cut, taped, hidden. She peeled it back, and there it was, a door no bigger than a suitcase. Latches on the outside, as if meant to lock something in. She opened it. Inside was dark, damp. The smell was sweet at first, then bitter, then unbearable. She reached in with trembling fingers and touched something soft. Fabric, then something wet. Hair, then a sound. A whisper. Mommy? She fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face. It was Lily. She was alive. Alive. But why was she in there? Why? And that's when a hand reached in from behind her and slammed the door shut. She screamed, fought, scratched. Michael whispered through the cracks. You shouldn't have looked. Some secrets are for keeping. She threw her shoulder against the door. Once, twice. It opened. She pulled Lily into her arms. The girl was pale, shaking, eyes wide with something that had no name. Mommy, she whimpered. Daddy said the girls in the walls would get me if I told. The walls. She looked around. Saw it now. Small handprints. On the wallpaper. Faded. Like they'd tried to claw their way out. She wrapped Lily in a towel. Held her close. Looked for any exit. Any break in the madness. And that's when she noticed the basement door again. It was open. The light was on. And from deep below, she heard a different voice. A woman's voice. Crying. How many were down there? How many had screamed into the dark, only to be forgotten? How long had she slept above it all, not knowing? Michael wasn't just a monster. He was a collector. Of memories. Of screams. Of silence. But not anymore. She looked at her daughter. Then at the knife block on the kitchen counter. It was time. Not to run. Not to hide. But to end it. What if the ones you try to save have already seen things you can't unsee? Hannah gripped the largest knife from the kitchen counter. Her hands trembled, not from fear, but from something deeper, something sharp, awake, rising like smoke inside her chest. Rage. Lily whimpered in her arms, still cold, still shaking. Her tiny fingers clutched Hannah's shirt, as if letting go meant disappearing again. Her lips moved, but the words were soft. Mama. He said the others are still down there. Others. Plural. The basement door loomed, still cracked open, still glowing. And something in her body, her bones, her blood, screamed not to go down, But she had to. She had to see. She had to know. Because the man upstairs, the man who tucked her in with lullabies and forehead kisses, had been dragging children into the dark. And she'd slept through it. She placed Lily on the couch, wrapped her in a blanket, kissed her forehead, like she used to before bedtime, before all of this. "Lock the front door if I don't come back in 5 minutes," she whispered. "Then run. Run until your feet bleed. Don't look back." Lily's eyes widened, but she nodded, because Lily had already learned how to survive. The knife was cold in her grip as she descended the stairs again, one by one, each creaking step now a drumbeat toward hell. But this time, she didn't hesitate. At the bottom, she stepped into the light. The air was thicker now, staler, as if the house knew she was here to unbury its truth. The wall of photos still stared at her, but something was different. Some of the faces were scratched out, deep gouges over their eyes, as if someone didn't want them seen anymore, or maybe didn't want them to see her. Then she noticed something else. A second door, behind the workbench, not visible unless you were looking directly at it, painted the same color as the wall, but peeling at the edges, and nailed shut, not locked, not sealed, nailed, like whatever was behind it had tried to come out. She raised the knife, used the handle to pry out one of the rusted nails, then another, and another, until it opened, with a long, moaning creak. The smell hit her like a scream, rot, damp, and something electric, like old tears trapped in wood. The room was small, concrete, no windows, but the floor was covered in sheets, stained, flattened, pressed like something had lain beneath them for years. And in the corner, a single mattress, wire-thin, rusted frame, chained to the wall. On it, a girl, no older than 12. Her eyes were swollen, skin pale, lips cracked. She blinked slowly when Hannah entered. Not startled, not afraid, just tired, as if pain had become her normal. Hannah dropped the knife, fell to her knees. The girl tried to speak, but her voice was a whisper of a whisper. "Water." She found a plastic cup on the bench, rinsed it twice, filled it with the bottled water Michael always kept for emergencies. When she returned, the girl drank it in one slow gulp. Her hands shook. Then she said something that chilled Hannah deeper than any scream. "He calls this the quiet room. When we scream, he puts us here to remember." More voices, faint, behind the wall, knocking, scraping, then a whisper. "Please? Is he gone?" Hannah turned. The wall wasn't solid. It was hollow. She slammed the side of her fist against it. "Hello? Who's there?" Another whisper. "Don't let him put us back." She found a crowbar beneath the bench, pried into the drywall, ripped chunks from the frame. Dust filled the air. She coughed, ice stinging. Then, an opening. Tunnel. Narrow. Cramped. Lined with wood, like an unfinished attic crawlspace. And inside, 3 children. 2 boys. 1 girl. Thin. Barely moving. Eyes blinking like bats woken at daylight. "Oh my God!" Hannah gasped. She reached in, pulled them out one by one. None of them spoke. Not at first. But one of the boys, his fingers brushed her arm, and he mouthed something. "He fed us soup with pieces in it." She wanted to scream, to rage, to run upstairs and drive the knife through Michael's heart. But she couldn't leave them down here. Not one more second. She led them into the basement's open space, tore blankets from the wall, wrapped their shaking bodies. The girl from the mattress whispered, "He took someone last week. Not like us. Older. A woman. Said it was special." Then, from above, a floorboard creaked, and a voice called down, "Hannah, I thought we were done with secrets." She froze. He was above them, at the basement door, watching, waiting. She grabbed the crowbar, handed the knife to the oldest boy. He nodded. A flicker of something inside him stirred. Maybe hope, maybe revenge. She turned to the kids. "There's a cellar door in the back. Go through it. Run. Don't wait for me. They hesitated, terrified, but she nodded again. You're not going back in the walls. Not tonight. They ran, feet stumbling, breath sharp. She stayed behind, because she wasn't finished. Michael came down the stairs, slowly, confidently, like he still believed. This was his house, his kingdom, and that she was just another one of his kept things. But Hannah didn't back down. Not this time. She raised the crowbar. You took my daughter. You took their lives. You took the man I thought I loved, and buried him under this thing you became. Michael smiled. You always loved the dark, Hannah. You just never admitted it. And with a scream, she charged, crowbar swinging, with splintering, blood flying. It wasn't graceful. It wasn't heroic. But it was real, raw, terrifying. And she didn't stop. Not until the silence returned. The true kind. She stood above his body, shaking, bleeding, and she whispered, "This house can keep its ghosts. I'm taking the living ones with me." But as she turned toward the cellar exit, she heard it, a soft laugh, from behind the wall, a voice not his, and it whispered, "Michael was just the beginning. What if the evil inside your home wasn't born from one man's madness but fed to him?" Hannah didn't move. Not right away. She stood over Michael's lifeless body, his blood still pooling at her feet, soaking into the floor like the house had been waiting for it. His eyes were still open, fixed, blank, but his smile, that stayed. Even in death, he looked amused, like she'd walked into the punchline of a joke she didn't understand yet. Then the laugh, it wasn't his, came from behind the wall, low, dry, amused, as if someone else had been watching the whole time. She backed up, breathing heavy, knife still slick in her palm, crowbar now bent at the edge. Her body was covered in sweat. Her daughter was upstairs. The rescued children were gone. But someone else was still here. She turned toward the wall where the voice had come from. Silence now, like it had never spoken. But the air felt wrong, stifled, thicker, as if the house itself was breathing around her. And it remembered everything. She moved fast, pried at the boards with what was left of the crowbar, clawing at them with fingers raw from splinters and fear. She tore open the drywall and found another hidden space, a narrow hallway, stone, not wood, not part of the original home. No one had built this. It had been dug by hand, long ago. She stepped inside. The smell of damp earth hit her immediately, and something else. Old perfume, cigarette smoke, ashes, as if grief had its own scent. Each step echoed, and her thoughts unraveled with it. What was this? What else didn't she know? How far down did this go? She passed scratched walls, names carved into stone. Mara 1986. Still here. Do not wake her. And then the hallway widened. A single chamber, round. Candle wax clung to the rocks like vines. Some fresh, some melted into fossils. In the center, a chair, iron, old, straps still dangling from the arms. And on the wall, pictures, not of Michael's victims. No, these were different. Paintings, tattered photographs, all of women, each one bearing the same facial structure. Eyes dark, hair long, features sharp, different times, different eras. Same face. She stepped closer, and then her heart stopped. One of them was her. A photo, taken from behind, in the kitchen, cooking. Lily in the high chair, Michael standing behind her, smiling. But in the photo, his eyes were hollow, blacked out with ink. She dropped it, and the voice returned. From the shadows, soft, familiar, female. I tried to stop him. I did. But they never stop. Once the house opens itself to them. Hannah turned slowly. A woman stood at the edge of the chamber. No shoes, pale dress, eyes like polished coal. She looked like someone Hannah should know, but didn't. Not really. Who are you? Hannah asked, her voice raw. The woman smiled gently. I had your face once. she whispered. And his heart. It hit her like a wave. Her stomach flipped. Michael's mother? The woman stepped forward, slow and graceful. But the light didn't touch her, as if the shadows themselves respected her. No, she said softly. I was his first. The one who found the house. The one who fed it, so it wouldn't feed on me. Hannah stumbled back. Fed it? What the hell are you talking about? The woman tilted her head. The house is hungry. It always has been. But it doesn't devour flesh. It devours fear, secrets, regret, the things we bury alive. She stepped into the candlelight now, her face fully visible. And it wasn't Hannah's face, but it could have been. The shape was too close. The bone structure, the mouth, the eyes. It was like staring into a mirror cracked across decades. I stayed here in 1969, she said, eyes drifting. Ran from a man, pregnant, desperate. The house let me stay, but it asked for something in return. She paused, hands trembling. It wanted him. She closed her eyes. My son. He was never the same after that. He started hearing it, listening to the floorboards, playing with shadows. Hannah's breath caught. You gave your son to this? The woman's voice cracked. I gave him a home. It took the rest. She turned to the walls, traced a hand across the stones. He learned its rhythms, became its voice. Then, he brought you here. Hannah staggered back. No, I chose this place. We moved here after the city. You thought you chose it, the woman interrupted. But it chose you. A pause, then silence. Then, I'm not the only one who fed it, Hannah. And I won't be the last. And from the other side of the chamber, a second figure stepped forward. Younger. Another woman. Same features. Long black hair. Glassy eyes. Hannah gasped. The girl looked just like Lily, but older. 15. Maybe 16. She dreams about this place, the woman said. She remembers it, even though she's never been down here. No, Hannah whispered. No, my daughter is not part of this. The older woman nodded. She will be, unless you break the pattern. How? You know how. Hannah looked at the blade still clutched in her hand. Its reflection shimmered in the candlelight. It had tasted blood. But not enough. Not yet. She turned to the photo on the ground. Then to the chair. Then to the two women standing across from her. One her past. One her daughter's future. And she asked herself, is love enough to kill a legacy? Or does evil have a bloodline? What if the only way to save your child was to destroy everything she came from, including yourself? Hannah stared into the candlelit faces. Two women. One, a version of herself that never escaped. The other, a girl who looked like Lily, but aged, worn, too knowing. They weren't ghosts. They were warnings. Whispers of what might come next. If she walked away now, the air in the chamber throbbed. The flame flickered, casting jagged shadows. And the older woman, the first mother, spoke again. You think the house is done with you, just because he is dead. She nodded toward the stairs, where Michael's body still cooled. It never wanted him. It wanted what was inside him. And now, it wants your daughter. Hannah gripped the blade tighter. Her knuckles turned white. Her pulse was in her ears now. Sharp, fast, frantic, like war drums. No, she said. Not a whisper. A vow. She's just a child. She's not like him. She's not cursed. The girl stepped forward. Lily's mirror. Voice like soft sand. But I hear things, she whispered. I dream of the red room, of the girls in the walls, of footsteps that stop at my door and never walk away. Hannah's breath caught. She shook her head. She's scared. That's all. Trauma. That's not evil. The older woman tilted her head. You think it's about evil? She pointed to her own chest. To flesh? To choice. Her voice broke. It's about the house, Hannah. Plant seeds. In silence. In blood. In birth. The chamber pulsed. The walls groaned. Not loudly, but like something ancient waking from sleep. Stone cracked. Dust rained down. The girl clutched her ears. She's already marked. She hears it in her bones. When she closes her eyes, she knows the layout of this place. Hannah staggered back. No! But memories began crawling up her spine. Lily, age 3, drawing the house. Perfectly. Every room, including the basement. Rooms she'd never entered. At the time, Hannah thought it was imagination. Children dream. But Lily had labeled the doors. Even the hidden ones. The girl, Lily's future, stepped closer. I tried to fight it too, she whispered. But the voices, they always win. Hannah turned to the older woman. What are you saying? That I... What? Kill my child to stop this? The woman's eyes darkened. No. You destroy the house. Every brick. Every hidden room. Burn it to ash. I will, Hannah nodded. I will burn this place to the ground. But, the woman added, voice trembling, if you leave even one wall standing, it will find a way back in. Hannah looked at the girl. You said it wanted what's inside him. Michael. What did you mean? The woman stepped forward, eyes locked on Hannah's stomach. You're pregnant. Hannah staggered. No, that's not possible. But she stopped. She remembered. 2 weeks ago. The nausea. The dizzy spells. The off-cycle bleeding. She chalked it up to stress. But now. No, she whispered. Not now. Not his. The girl nodded, her voice hollow. That's what the house wanted. It doesn't just want the present. It feeds on the future. It uses blood to plant itself into what's next. She looked again at the old chair. The straps. The stains. The stone floor with grooves from struggling heels. How many women had made the same discovery and failed? And then she realized this house wasn't a place. It was a system, a trap that dressed itself in family photos, fresh paint, and lullabies, and it would never stop. Not unless she did something no one before her had. She turned, fast, ran up the stairs, back into the kitchen. The morning sun was starting to bleed through the windows. A lie of safety, because nothing had changed yet. She grabbed Lily from the couch, held her tight, felt her heartbeat. Her daughter looked up. Is the bad thing gone, Mommy? No, Hannah whispered. But we're about to make sure it never comes back. She carried her outside, placed her gently in the car, started the engine, gave her the burner phone from the glove box. Call Grandma. Tell her you're coming. Don't stop. Don't turn around. Lily hesitated. But what about you? Hannah smiled through tears. I'm going to clean up. Make sure no other mommy ever has to do what I'm doing now. Lily nodded and drove. Then Hannah turned back. To the house. To the place that had pretended to be her home. Her safety. Her lie. She poured gasoline. Room by room. Basement. Crawl space. Chamber of shadows. She lit a match. And whispered, this ends with me. The fire caught. Fast. Hungry. Walls howled. Glass shattered. And for a second, just before the ceiling collapsed, she heard a scream. Not from Michael. Not from the woman. Not from the girl. But from the house itself. As if it finally understood. It wouldn't survive her. What if destroying the house only released what had been buried beneath it? It took less than an hour for the fire to consume the house. First the porch. Then the nursery. Then the bones of the basement, blackening into brittle charcoal, cracking under the weight of what it had hidden for decades. And Hannah stood outside, a safe distance away, covered in soot and memory. Her skin smelled like gasoline. Her hands, still shaking, still stained with blood. But her eyes, they were dry, not because she wasn't broken, but because she was beyond tears now. She watched it all burn. Every corner, every lie, every whisper tucked between the floorboards. She waited until the roof collapsed in on itself, until the support beams moaned like dying animals, until the screams stopped. Only then did she let her body fall to its knees, pressing her forehead to the earth, as if apologizing to it. From behind her, sirens wailed in the distance. Neighbors stood at the end of the street, Phones out. Whispers spreading. Someone asked, "Did anyone make it out?" Another said, "She lived there with her daughter. Quiet family." Quiet. That word again. Soaked into her like smoke. The ambulance came first. They checked her pulse. Her eyes. They wrapped her in a blanket she didn't feel. Then the officer arrived. "Ma'am, can you tell us what happened?" She looked at the officer. And for a second, just a flicker, his eyes looked like Michael's. That blank stare. The absence of guilt. The quiet hunger behind the iris. But then it vanished. Just her trauma playing tricks. Still, she couldn't answer. Not really. Because how do you explain a house that breathes secrets? A man that kills with lullabies? A lineage soaked in darkness? So she said the only thing that made sense. It was haunted. They put her in the back of the ambulance. As the medics closed the doors, she glanced once more at the ruins. And then, she saw something. In the ashes. Between the blackened beams and melted copper pipes. A shape. Small. Square. Intact. The chair. The iron chair from the basement. Still standing. Not warped. Not burned. Still bolted to the stone floor that refused to collapse. And in it, a photograph. Perfectly preserved. Her. Holding Lily. Smiling. But behind her, just in the corner, a shadow. Too tall. Too still. Too familiar. She looked away. Closed her eyes. But it didn't go away. It never would. 1 year later. A new neighborhood. Different state. Different trees. Different sky. Lily ran through the backyard barefoot. Laughter echoing like she was whole again. She had friends now. A school. Routine. A therapist. And no more drawings of basements. Hannah sat on the porch. Hands wrapped around a mug of chamomile tea. Though she hadn't sipped it. She watched her daughter. Alive. Safe. Growing. She reached into the side table and pulled out the journal. Michael's journal. She'd kept it. Not out of sentiment, but as a reminder of what evil sounds like when it calls itself love. She thought about tossing it, burying it, burning it all over again. But something stopped her, because last night, Lily had whispered in her sleep, "Mommy, the wall is calling again." That night, Hannah dreamt of the chair. It sat alone in the middle of a field now. The grass was dead around it, and the wind howled like it had lungs. She walked toward it in the dream, faster, then slower, then stopped, because the chair wasn't empty anymore. It held her, older, tired, smiling, and from behind, a hand touched her shoulder. She woke up screaming. The next morning, she walked into Lily's room, and on the wall, drawn in crayon, was a door, small, square, painted shut. Hannah didn't panic. She sat beside her daughter and whispered, "You don't have to answer when it calls." Lily looked up. "I know, but what if it calls someone else?" Hannah stared at the drawing, and she knew, some things don't end. They wait, they evolve, they whisper through dreams, through blood, through bone, and the house may be gone, but something still breathes. She stood up, grabbed the journal, and this time, she did what she should have done long ago. She opened it to the last page, the one she had never dared to read, and it said, "One of them always survives. One to carry it, one to hear it, one to bring it back." She dropped the journal in the fire pit, lit the match, watched it scream in silence, and this time, she whispered back, "Not this bloodline, not this time." Do you think the evil was really gone, or just waiting? Comment below. And if you made it through this story, subscribe to the Veil of Secret for more terrifying, true stories, told from the edge of memory, because some tales are buried, but never dead.